So we thought, didn't we, boys, it would be a good idea to invite everybody into our naked conversation, because we feel that we are creating something that has been living in us for quite a while. So I'll start by introducing myself. I'm Vanessa Louise, and I gave birth to Naked, should we say, probably about 3 years ago. And along that journey, Dad, Mike, at the bottom of my screen here, was on the beginning of my journey with me, and my dear friend Chris also decided that, you know what, this is something that speaks to me. And so we've created something we believe to be incredibly powerful, the Naked Space. So can you just say hi and a little bit about yourself and kind of why Naked is important to you? Chris, do you want to start?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm Chris Black. The accent that you'll be hearing is a Canadian accent. I'm actually a UK citizen, but I've been in Canada for the last 30 years, and now I'm back in the UK. So my background a long while ago was teaching, but sort of progressed into the consulting realm of project management. And about 5 years ago, started to get a little despondent about what we were actually achieving as project managers in the corporate field. This started me down a path that sort of took me in a direction of trying to manage change, and then realizing that change was happening in a massive way throughout the globe. And it took me to a place where I realized that this massive change is happening, and what it requires is a change in the way that we see ourselves and our relationship with the planet, and our relationship between ourselves and other people. So I found myself connected with Vanessa and Mike on a idea and a thought and a philosophy that I think is very useful in this time. That's what we've called the naked space. And that space is something that we are opening up to explore new ways of being able to connect and talk and communicate and think about who we are and how we might be able to forge a new emerging future.
Yeah, powerful, really powerful. Thank you, Chris. And Dad, Mike.
Yes, thank you, Vanessa. I've known Vanessa for a while, being my daughter, 40 odd years. I spent most of my life in financial services. I started a business 45 years ago. I sold it recently. I've always had a passion for communicating with people. I've read a lot of inspirational books over the years. In fact, that's all I read. And I guess my journey really has been over the last 40 odd years to get to this point. I fortunately met Chris about 3 years ago. Chris is the son of clients of mine who I got very close to, Wally and Carol Black, over 35 years. They live locally. They're delightful people. And when I first met Chris, we had an instant connection. We felt the same about the planet and helping people get more out of life. The three of us have got together over the last 3 or 4 months in trying to put something together that's meaningful. It's delightful listening to Vanessa and Chris speaking. I'm a little bit more on the sidelines. I let them sort of get on with it, really.
Not at all.
Having said that, it's fascinating that the dynamics, father-daughter, male-female,
yeah,
that kind of relationship. And it's going to be awfully interesting to see how the journey pans out. We're hugely excited about what we've got. We're not unique, but I think we're unique in the way you put things over.
Yeah, it's really interesting actually, because as you were speaking there, Mike, this is going to be strange for me to refer to you as Mike, but I just wrote example of sharing. I think this dynamic is a beautiful example of once you start vocalizing, speaking up, becoming familiar with what's important to you, where you are, what you're feeling, what you see, what you feel, then somebody else might say, you know what, me too, or could you explain further, or actually I've been feeling the same, or I thought the same. Because Dad, initially this began January 2013 when we were in Toronto. We'd flown miles, you know, to go and see Bob Proctor, and we were just sitting at the bar having a bowl of soup, and we had a conversation where we went, you know what, yeah, I totally agree with you, something's got to change. It's important for us as human beings to begin to think differently, which is what Chris just touched on. And one thing led to another, and we kind of said, yeah, great, wonderful, what can we create? And we just had conversation after conversation after conversation. And literally 2 or 3 months after that, in 2017, is when you met Chris, and you shared with him the kind of the idea that we had and what we felt passionately about. And Chris, that clearly resonated with him. Keep me informed. And as he was coming backwards and forwards from Canada to the UK, we just met up, and it really grew into something that we felt was very necessary. And you know, so we've labeled it Naked, but it's just to be really clear, it's a movement that enables us to live and connect from a place of truth. And Chris, that place of truth is something, is it fair to say, a lot of people struggle with, because we're so conditioned and have certain frameworks that have been around for years, decades, hundreds, maybe thousands of years, that we've all just got caught up in as a human race. And quite frankly, the time has now come where we recognize that the truth really needs to emerge now for the greater good.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I'm no revolutionary, but I suspect that it will resonate with people when they think about the way that the economic systems work, when they think about the education systems, the social systems, not to mention the way that we treat the planet as a source of resources, and for us to manipulate and to use at will. There is a lot about the way that we have learned to live that has been imprinted on us from the way that we developed in the industrial era, that, you know, it provides us a framework and a default that we learn to live our lives against. And we grow up, and you know, much of what we do is because someone else did it before.
Yes.
And we can't do that anymore. We are destroying ourselves. We are destroying the diversity on the planet. We are setting ourselves up for continued use of systems that are breaking and dissolving and killing people.
Yeah.
So I think one of the things that I think is really powerful, and the things that I've noticed, is that as I was going through this kind of awakening from being a consultant in the corporate world to, good Christ, is this really what I'm doing? I'm looking around and I'm seeing some people who maybe aren't as aware that that's happening and are still caught up in this old system. But there are some who are having this exact same awakening happening at the exact same time across the world. And it is the most beautiful thing to see. People waking up, and you know, you can get online and talk with people in distant countries who go, yeah, you know, I've had exactly the same kind of experience. And this is this mass awakening, and it's this touching of something that's inside that's going, no, there's something wrong. It's reaching out and between us and connecting between each other and going, yeah, no, I get what you're saying. You don't have to cover that up. You don't have to be quiet about it any longer, because this is something that's real and it's happening, and we need to talk about it, and we need to understand it, and we need to understand, what does this mean to the way that we see ourselves and the way that we live?
Yes.
And that, I think, as a measure of truth, that piece that you're talking about, that truth piece, is the piece that really starts to resonate with people, and that's what I'm hoping that people might see in what we're talking about.
Absolutely, because as we've spoken about many times, we don't have any solutions, and as you said it at the top there, you're no revolutionary or whatever. It's about showing up, isn't it? And I loved what you just said about the whole kind of, I see that in you, and it's the fear, it's the control, it's the judgment. It's like you say, we do it this way because that's the way we've always done it. And history has shown us, to be fair, history has shown us that when people have spoken up, their lives have been taken.
Yeah.
Quite frankly. So
Yeah.
that just demonstrates the fear, the danger, if you like, of speaking up. So, but as you talk about this mass awakening, because that's definitely been something I've been feeling in myself for a little while, as I know it has, Mike, as well, with the conversations that we've been having, being so close, is that this is what, quite frankly, quite simply we wanted to create, was the space for that inquiry. It's not about we know the way and this is how we do it and this is how it's done at all. It's about the coming together. It's the union of, what, that really makes sense what you just said. That really spoke to me. And then you feel safe enough to share your thoughts and feelings about something that then evolves into, the conversation evolves into an expansion, and the capacity to be able to explore more just keeps growing and keeps growing and keeps growing. So is it fair to say that the space is for inquiry? It's the space for that, for you to voice, to share, to express that inner truth, that inner energy that's constantly trying to emerge within us. It's at the core of who we are, but that truth has been squashed and suppressed and denied for such a long time, because people don't recognize, they don't feel what's going on in them, so they just, and there's not really been an opportunity to share. So therefore we allow then the control and the power, and the logistical way of things being done as they always have done, to keep producing systems and processes that clearly they're not fulfilling. We can't, they're not regenerative, which is a brilliant word that I know that and we talked about it being a culture. The naked space is a culture.
Yeah,
and
I love that.
the analogy of the soil,
Mm-hmm.
being, what you plant in the soil, whether it is a rose or a deadly nightshade, what you plant in the soil is what you will get. And so the naked space really is the soil. So the consciousness shift that needs to happen for us to create and produce something new, a new kind of normal, because I feel like I've been put on the naughty step by Mother Nature at the moment. And it's fit there. Yeah, that's what I mean. We're all being forced to reflect. And actually here's my recognition in what's coming up for me, just as we're sitting in this space together. Because we're all being forced to reflect, because we're all, with the current pandemic that's going on, because we've all been forced to be in that space together, even we might not be physically in that space together, energetically, emotionally, spiritually, we're in that space together, that it's made it okay to share, to speak up, to allow ourselves to go to the place that we could possibly create something different. So on a smaller scale, the naked space that we so desperately want, and now we're inviting other people to join us, it could perhaps create something really beautiful that we know. I love it when your guru Charles Eisenstein says, "Is create the world that we know our hearts is possible."
Yes. Yeah.
So could it possibly be that the naked culture is that space to do that?
Well, I'm gonna hold it. I'm gonna say, Mike, why don't you chime in, because I want to make sure you have a chance to talk here, because I could just go on and on at the moment.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Well done. I kind of think that the situation we're in at the moment, everybody wants change. I hope we can make it. I'm sure we will. I do believe that through any change, there is crisis preceding the change, and I think there is always a way out. I used to watch the Saturday morning pictures when I was a kid. Used to go with my sister, and when things got really desperate, the cavalry always came over the hill to save us. And I believe this in life. I think that's just an analogy. I think it's a great analogy, and I've always believed that. And I can look back my 70 odd years and see that whatever crisis I've been in, the cavalry have always come, sometimes a little bit later than I expected, but they've always come across the hill. So, you know, I think the message I want to give to people is hold tight. There is a solution to this. We're not quite sure what it is, but we will find it. There's no doubt about that. If you look through human nature over many years, it's always happened. We've always found solutions and ways of life that are better.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that there is a difference between what we can do, because there's a lot of people who think about coming out of this pandemic and they go, I don't want to go back to where we were before. I want to be able to seek what's coming. So naturally speaking, people will be in that space and they'll go, okay, so how do I do something about that? What does it look like to move into that new world? What does that new world look like? How do I survive? And who comes with me? Right? So you have that. But I think in order for us to be able to build that and to have the courage to build that, and what those solutions are and what that cavalry might look like, we need to focus on a consciousness shift. Again, it's about the way that we look at ourselves. It's the way that we communicate with other people. It's about how do we look at our community? How important is that community as a basis for us to act? So this space that we're creating, I think when people are listening to this and they're going, trying to understand what it is we're trying to do here, this is simultaneously a consciousness shift. By allowing ourselves, just here we've got 3 images on a screen, but hopefully we will start attracting people who go, hey, you know what? Yeah, this is exactly what we need to be doing. And, you know, I want to be part of this conversation. And being part of this conversation and speaking up and sharing is exactly what we need, because we have more lenses and more witnessing of this is the way I see life. So Jane, who joins, goes, I see life this way. And we go, wow, that's really interesting. That informs my opinion, you know, this much further. And then Tom comes in and says, I see life this way. And again, we get more information. It allows us to be able to get to a point where we have that consciousness shift so that we can start looking at the way that the world will happen from a completely different lens.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And it's interesting because you talk a lot and you speak about do, and I'm totally with you. Yeah, this is what's going to happen. I'm going to do this differently. And then whenever I find myself going into the doing of something, I remind myself as why am I doing that thing?
Yeah.
So I take a step back. Who is it that I need to be for that thing to do that thing? And any time I've ever created any sort of transformation in my life, and first of all, it's come with myself. Any transformation in myself is who do I need to be if that's the result, if that's the life I want to live in, if that's the journey, if that's the direction. Because we talk about the fact that there is no solution, particularly as this space is not providing a solution, that it is about the culture. It's an invitation to walk together. It's an invitation to to experience together as a result of everybody having a voice, everybody speaking up and understanding what it means to have a consciousness shift. What is a consciousness shift? Because I can guarantee you there are millions and millions and millions of people on this planet that don't feel well, fulfilled, connected, together, excited, loving a lot of the time. I think they're feeling frustrated and angry and
right.
tired and confused, but they don't understand why. And I think the consciousness shift that we talk about is really helping people understand it's an inside job. And this is my belief is any change we want to see on the outside in other people or systems or the world is understanding that it begins here. I think so many people want to save the world. The world doesn't need saving.
No,
You know,
the world do just fine without us.
do just fine without it. Exactly. The world is still going to turn whether I wake up tomorrow or not. And once I understand that I am a passenger, that I can enjoy creation, that I can co-create, right, with the powers that turn the world, with other people, and flipping well enjoy the journey. You know, what is the point? What is the point? And here's one thing I know is that everybody is going to die, but not very many people are going to fully live. And that feeling of feeling alive and feeling well and feeling loving and feeling connected and kind and happy and joyful is, I believe, is why we're here. But I don't think there's a value placed on it because we're so caught up in, but you know, you got to work hard for this. It's not as easy as that. And we get brought up into all this stuff. And it's the consciousness shift. If we could appreciate that, if we could think differently and create a refreshing perspective on life, our own perspective on life, join in with others on their perspective of life, and have some fun with that. Like you say, try to walk in other people's shoes, try to see the world through other people's lenses. And actually, and I get this image of Thelma and Louise, and I know I've spoken about this a lot. I'll go if you go, you know. I don't want to do this on my own. I want to share my life with others. I want to share my life with others. I want to walk this journey with others that going, this is fun, isn't it? Should we go this way? Oh yeah, come on then. Oh, that was good. You know, and just create from that place an enjoyable life, but where, again, it's regenerative and sustainable and ever evolving. There's no set pathway, if you like, because then it would just come to an end. It's ever evolving.
Yeah.
I get excited about that. I really do get excited about that.
We like the fun bit, definitely.
Definitely, it is definitely. It is tricky, but fun makes it a lot more enjoyable. But also, when I have truly gone through any major transformational work, if I've had somebody there to hold my hand, either energetically, metaphorically, then that for me is what this space is all about. It's about the community, the coming together. It's I've got your back, you know.
Yeah, I think too. I mean, there are tons of people out there who are doing the same kind of thing. They're talking about this awakening. They're talking about what's happening in the zeitgeist. They're actually putting into place. They're experimenting with certain ideas to be able to create massive change. I mean, this is happening throughout the world, and it's becoming bigger and bigger and bigger. So what we're doing here is not necessarily something that's new, but we're joining this movement. We're joining this team, and if I think it can very easily, for those people who are feeling this pain, who are feeling disconnected, who are feeling that they're at work and going, what the hell am I doing here today again? Like, and I know people need to earn money. They need to be able to pay the bills. Obviously, they're driven in a particular direction. But understanding that life can be lived in a different way is a major, major risk, and it's a major step. And if someone can go to a group like ours, into a naked space, and be able to see others who are in the same situation, who are going, yeah, no, I'm sick and tired of living this way. We really need to find a path that's better.
Yeah.
Something that feels better, feels more fulfilling. Then heck, you know what? Let's do it.
Yeah.
Because this is a really good use of my time.
Yeah.
And some could be cynical and say, well, this is all pretty sort of lovey-dovey, hippie kind of, but it's not. No, this is serious. This is serious stuff.
The only way, isn't it?
This is your heart.
Yeah.
This is your connection to nature. This is your connection to life, and we've numbed it, and we've tagged cynicism against it so that we can protect ourselves from going into something that requires a little courage.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what's so exciting about this group.
Yeah. And let's just, again, with the word naked, it's about stripping back those old structures, those old stories, the old way of living, to come together to create a new way of being.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't know about you, but I not necessarily, and I'm talking physically, let's just bring it right back to what this group is not about. It's not about being physically naked, but when you can use the analogy of stripping off and exposing your physical self, that is not a comfortable place, right? For a lot of people. It's actually that's where the word naked came from, because I had kept having this naked dream. And I was caught in my dream with no clothes on, and people were laughing at me and making fun of me and pointing. And when I woke up, and I had it for years and years and years, and I finally realized it was about the fear of showing up as my true self. And that's when I get tingles as I say it. Then I said, right, this is what naked means to me. And what we were creating together was exactly that. We just use the naked label to put on it, if you like. But it's about stripping back that old stuff that doesn't work, that doesn't support, encourage, nurture the very being of me. And therefore, once I speak up about that, and other people go, oh yeah, me too, me too, me too, me too, me too. That's what this is about. So we can all get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because, as you've said before in one of our other conversations, it's about highlighting the paradox that confuses people, and then they just stay stuck. So it doesn't mean to say that this is the way and nothing bad will happen and all the rest of it. On the contrary. But if we can come together and feel safe and secure and certain in the truth, then we can embrace the uncertainty together collectively as a community. And as you said, this naked pocket can join in with another pocket that's called something else over here, and then we just begin to create a movement of beings, people who will just want to be a very different way. And from there, that's when that beautiful emerging future you're talking about can come from. It can't come from any other place. If we prove that, it can't come from fear, scarcity, competition. It can't, because it's led us to this place now. It's got to come. So is it about us sort of showing up and saying, come in, take a look, try it on, and if it doesn't fit, we love you, thank you, God bless you, enjoy the ride. But if it does fit, welcome. Speak up, join in, watch from the sideline.
Exactly. That's exactly it. There are many people out there who are thinking and connecting with this idea, and even when that light inside feels like it just wants to burst and wants to come out, but you won't let it, because if it does, then it sort of affects the way that you live and see the world. It affects the people who are around you. That people might laugh at what you're feeling, or be worried about what it is that you're feeling, because it's something that's different. Even for those people, this is a safe space that they can come to and say, look, you know what, I'm feeling the same thing, and I don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah.
We don't know what to do with it yet.
Yeah.
But the only way that we're going to understand what to do with it is by coming together and being a community
Yeah.
and understanding what emerges from that.
Yeah.
Because none of us, no one person here, no one person in an entire community can call the shots and say, this is the direction that we need to go in.
No,
Um,
absolutely.
it needs to be a community emerging thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And from that place, and as you're speaking, it's not about right or wrong at all. There is
No.
no right, there is no wrong, there just is. And that's what we want to invite into this space. And we even spoke about that before we press record, about the fact that we haven't got it worked out. We're not there.
Yeah.
You know, it's one foot in front of the other. And it's very much come join, walk with us, isn't it? Really, ultimately,
Yeah.
Naked is about feel safe.
There was that piece that you were talking about, you know, we don't need to have those answers, but for the love of God, let's be mindful of where we are. Let's challenge ourselves. Let's see the world for the way it is in every way that we possibly can. Let's stop and let's be conscious and let's be present.
Yeah.
And that, if there's a solution to be had, then surely that way of being, that consciousness shift in the way that we see things, in the way that we are, surely is that solution. It is constantly evolving, but if we can find people and help people to grow themselves into that kind of direction, then we start seeing solutions, tangible solutions, policy solutions, community-led solutions that are based upon those principles and those ideas that are so different to the way that we've seen them in the past.
Brilliant. I get so excited about, well, whenever we come together, but when I immerse myself in my nakedness, I do get super excited. And from that place, I am finding I am attracting more people, opportunities and circumstances that are calling out, are almost longing for this naked space. And I love the word very simply that you said was okay. It's okay. I feel okay here. I feel the relief of that, I think, is so powerful. So this is just the beginning. My gosh, my tingles as I say that. This is really just the beginning. And I am so grateful to both of you. Whenever I talk to anybody, I call you the boys. It's such a joy to be on this journey with you, and to create with you, co-create with both of you and all these beautiful people that are joining us as we speak. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
And we will come together. Yeah, we'll come together again soon and share more and more and more, and we invite others to do the same, because naked is connection. Bless you. Thank you, guys. I'll catch you later. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.